Morning, people. I think we should talk about the police presence here at the Conservative Party conference because it is considerable. Now, my issues with how it's been done is it's not the police's fault themselves, not in the main, but the powers that have been given to the police by the Conservative Party, specifically with designed to chill protest. I mean, we've seen their attitude to free speech for the past few years, the suppression of votes via the Elections Bill, the Policing Act, which their own Human Rights Committee said would infringe our right to protest. Now, obviously, there do need to be rules about things like obstructing traffic or prolonged public disturbance, but those rules have to be clearly defined so that everybody knows where they stand and to protect the right to protest. But as I just saw with the way the police handled Steve Bray, that's not really what we've got.
So if I want to go where I was yesterday, without the amps, that is okay.
Well, it depends what you're doing though, doesn't it? So if you start
without the amp.
Without the amps,
Well, again, we'll have to look at the actual, what I said to you today was, if you want to protest and shout and everything, that is here, isn't it? These have been designated areas for you to get your political
yes,
messages.
but as I said to you yesterday, designated protest is not about being designated,
and I get that,
given
but,
a time,
but if you're here to get your message across, yeah, we have to let you know where the best places to do that are. Now, if you go down there, you've got the Bridgewater Hall. Again, an iconic music venue. There could be people, the Halley Orchestra will be practicing. I don't know what's going on in there today. So everything has to be taken, in the context at the time. So if you've got an orchestra practicing and you're outside there, then you might be causing a disturbance, or you might be affecting what they're trying to do.
Even unamplified?
I don't know, but you're asking me hypothetical questions. So all I'm trying to do is help you understand that each one has to be taken on its own merits.
But he has to be able to know prospectively whether or not his action will be illegal.
Stephen knows what he's doing. He's an expert protester.
Now, for context, this is that other area they were talking about when they say round there, the place outside the driver's entrance to the Conservative Party conference. And the problem with what we just heard is that the superintendent himself couldn't say whether or not unamplified shouting in this location would be legal. So this isn't a criticism of him or the police in general. This is a criticism of the completely vague and subjective powers that they've been given. Because we're not talking about some permanent disruption of loud music being played on loudspeakers from now until the end of time. We're talking about the governing party holding their Conservative Party conference here for 4 days, and whether or not it's legal to shout there. And the police can't or won't even tell us whether we'd be arrested for shouting, which means you could raise your voice in protest and be arrested by surprise. Hi, Steve. We had a conversation over there with the superintendent. I just want a specific question. If you wanted to go down there over to the other entrance of the Conservative Party conference and shout loudly in protest against the Tories, are you clear on whether or not that would be permissible? Whether that's allowed?
Absolutely not clear. That's why we're going to go over and do it now.
Good luck.
Best way to find out with the way the police are treating us is just trial and error.
The whole concept of the rule of law is that laws should be certain and known to all and apply to all. This ain't it. Ultimately, it comes down to trust. Can the Tory government be trusted to get the balance right between avoiding excessive disruption and protecting free speech? And given everything we've heard about the police in recent years, can they be trusted to make those assessments in the field? Because we saw what happened at the coronation, the confiscation of signs, the arresting of women's safety volunteers, the threatening of the public, because the attitude of the government trickles down into how the police operate. And yesterday, that attitude was clear on display. Have any of the trade deals that you've negotiated made up for the loss of Brexit? Have any of the trade deals that you've negotiated made up for the loss of Brexit? You're making jokes about poo. I'm talking about the people of the UK. First off, that was bullshit, because we can all clearly see that Kemi Badenoch and I walked through the barrier together, and then her colleague deliberately tried to edge me out of the way. So one of the Tories deliberately made physical contact with me, and then the police put his hands on me and told me to get my hands off them. Shouting "get your hands off them" when it's perfectly clear from the video that I had my hands on precisely nobody, I can only assume that that's some kind of equivalent of when the police arbitrarily shout "stop resisting" to give them justification to do something else. In this case, I think he was just trying to establish a police-criminal dynamic to give him justification for being physical with me. But this is kind of to be expected given the government's attitude to political criticism. And yesterday, Tory MP Brendan Clark-Smith told me that the core value of the Conservative Party was freedom. Again, this ain't it. I'm Femi, this has been F Politics, just trying to make sure that politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.